As the daily case count continues to rise across the country and here in Utah, hospital administrators say first responders are overworked and healthcare workers are emotionally and physically exhausted. But how close is the state from rolling out crisis protocols? Fox 13's Aaron Cox shows us.
As nurses suit up for another day, they wonder if today they'll have enough to give.
We have the PPE we need to protect our staff. We just don't have enough people.
The University of Utah Health has 111 regularly staffed intensive care unit beds. On average, about 20 of those beds are filled with COVID-19 patients. That's about 15 to 20% of their patient care in the ICU dedicated to those with the virus. The daily average of COVID-19 patients outside of the ICU are 30.
We normally run 2 teams in our medical ICU. We're currently at 3 teams, and tomorrow we expect to be activating our 4th team.
In comparison to last October, Dr. Russell Vinnick with the University of Utah Health says they are averaging 30 to 40 more patients per day, and they have yet to see their first flu case come in.
They are both physically and emotionally exhausted.
While the burden is taking its toll on healthcare providers, Dr. Vinnick says they are not quite at what's considered crisis level in the state.
That's when everything is maxed out and you literally cannot deliver any more care to any more patients.
In August, the state updated their crisis standards of care guidelines, outlining the civil rights allowed to patients and the decision-making process for healthcare providers when choosing who gets an ICU bed. The decision would come down to who gets the resources because of who is most likely to survive.
None of us are prepared to do that.
Though case numbers are rising, it would take every hospital in the state to be at maximum capacity before using the state's crisis protocol.
What is hard to predict is how quickly we might get there.
And so first responders continue going to work, knowing the risks, giving all that they can.
This is going to cause a lot of harm, and it's preventable. So let's just do the things we know how to do.
Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, we do have some breaking news we want to tell you about right now. The Salt Lake Tribune will stop publishing a daily print edition starting next year. Beginning in January 2021, the Tribune will print a weekly edition. The Tribune says this decision does not include any cuts to newsroom staff. Fox 13 and the Salt Lake Tribune are news gathering partners. Big change there.
All right, it's time to check in with Allison CROGHAN. Allison, you know, this is I think everybody everywhere in northern Utah, at least, this was the subject of conversation.
They woke up and they hated me. I was walking my dog today, and this guy, all he said when I passed him was, "Can you please make it warm up soon?" And I said, "I know, I'm right there with you." It was a record cold temperatures across northern Utah this morning. Randolph, 9 below zero. Silver Lake at Brighton, just 1 lonely degree. Deer Creek Dam, 5 degrees this morning. 13 degrees for Logan. Capitol Reef, 18. And for Salt Lake City, 19 degrees this morning. Our old record was set back in the 1800s, and we beat that today. Now, in addition to very cold temperatures, dangerously cold temperatures, we're also dealing with very gusty conditions across southwest Utah. It has been gusting across southwest Utah. That wind has been howling about 30 to 40 miles per hour for those wind gusts. Cedar City, St. George, up towards Milford, Bryce Canyon, 31 miles per hour, and even into Price, 21 miles per hour. We look at red flag warnings, hot pink areas right here until tonight at 7 p.m. But for southwest Utah, we'll continue with high wind warnings and red flag warnings until 8 and 9 o'clock tonight. So we do have some issues with that wind. We'll have clear skies tonight, so another cold start tomorrow. Don't be too surprised. Make sure you're bringing that warm jacket as you head out the door tomorrow morning. But what about the rest of the week? I have some good news for you guys. I'll have those details coming up.
Election Day is almost a week away, and already Utahns are turning out in a big way. Find out how many Utahns registered to vote just in time and what that could mean for vote by mail.
And Republicans in the Senate are set to confirm President Donald Trump's nominee to the Supreme Court tonight. How Judge Barrett's confirmation may impact the election.
And when you can't watch all of Fox 13 News live, there are other options. You can watch us streaming online for free on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and you can search KSTU on your device to find the app.
Well, in national news, you can say Republicans are taking a victory lap, not because of early voting or presidential poll numbers, but because President Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee is expected to be confirmed tonight to the High Court.
This would make her the third justice picked by President Donald Trump to be put on the Supreme Court. Reporter DARRYL Forges is in Washington to explain the process and how this could impact the presidential election.
Yeah, that's right, Max and Kelly. Good evening to the both of you. Yes, we're 8 days away from Election Day, but all eyes are on Capitol Hill as we're expecting that vote for Amy Coney Barrett's nomination within some time this hour. And at last check, it looks like she will get the votes to become the next Supreme Court justice, potentially impacting the nation's highest court for decades to come. Senate Republicans set to put an end to a quick and contentious Supreme Court confirmation for Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
How do you like Amy, by the way? Isn't Amy great?
Democrats attempted to filibuster her nomination, saying the winner of the presidential election should decide the next justice.
We could have waited to after the election very easily and not divided our country further.
Barrett's addition to the court solidifies President Trump's judicial legacy and submits a conservative majority that could impact future decisions on health care and even potential disputes in the presidential election.
A lot of what we've done over the last 4 years will be undone sooner or later by the next election. They won't be able to do much about this for a long time to come.
In response, some Democrats suggested expanding the size of the Supreme Court, also known as court packing. Democratic nominee Joe Biden has not indicated where he stands on expanding the court, but said if elected, he would establish a bipartisan commission to explore changes to the Supreme Court.
I will ask them to, over 180 days, come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system because it's getting out of whack.
The coronavirus crisis also impacting the confirmation. Vice President Mike Pence will not preside over the vote as planned amid an outbreak of COVID-19 among his staff. The confirmation, expected to land largely along party lines, could also sway voters deciding key Senate contests, looking to shift the balance of power in the chamber. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not Republicans can maintain control of the Senate. Now, if and when Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed, the White House will have a swearing-in event later on tonight. Live in Washington, DARRYL Forges, Max Kelly, back to you.
Yeah, DARRYL, thank you. You know, one of the things you mentioned in there was decisions on health care. And that is really what Democrats were talking a whole lot about in the confirmation hearings. That's coming up soon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That big hearing is coming up next month, November 10th. But there's also a lot of other things, Max, that's going to be up for debate when it comes to what's going to be up before the Supreme Court, including a big decision on the census, religious liberties versus gay rights. A lot of things happening, and even possibly this election, a potential part 2 of Bush v. Gore if we don't get the results like we want to during next week's election. So a lot of things that's going to go before Amy Coney Barrett, which is going to be a big dramatic shift because now the Supreme Court, once she is confirmed, will be 6 conservative justices versus 3 liberal justices, Max.
Boy, that is just a whole big list of things to be stressed about. Darryl Forges, really something to think about. Thank you so much for the report.
Well, Senator Romney voted for the confirmation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. The Utah senator says her appointment comes at a time when the nation is growing more divided. Public trust in institutions, such as churches, schools, government, and the press is declining. And Senator Romney believes Judge Barrett is up to the measure of the times in which we now live.
It's essential that the Supreme Court retain the trust of the nation. It may be one of the very few, if not the only, of the institutions in which the great majority of Americans have confidence.